to charge Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass or any of the people that have completely shanked this whole thing with attempted murder. But, it was interesting. James Woods yesterday when he said that, this is where they have tribunals, when they start talking about how really ineffective and incompetent they have been there in California regarding these fires. And with James Woods saying this is where they have tribunals. Yeah, I mean, criminally negligent. That's got to be a thing. Maybe that's what we've stumbled upon. If there's any charges to be filed against lawmakers in Los Angeles, criminal negligence, I think, is where you could possibly go.
Yeah.
L.A., here's the crazy thing about these smelt fish, though. Do you know they haven't actually seen a smelt fish in like 6 years?
Oh, my goodness.
6 years they have not seen a smelt fish. So they've done all of this to protect a fish that hasn't been seen in 6 years. Now, remember, from the LA Times, the Department of Water Resources saying that officials have to limit pumping from the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta this year because of environmental protections for these native fish. The agency has said its ability to move water south into Southern California, where all the fires are, through the system of aqueducts and reservoirs have been impacted by the presence of threatened and endangered fish species like the smelt fish near the state's pumping facilities in the South Delta. So I'm watching this thing this morning, and I could not believe that with all of these efforts and making sure that Southern California doesn't have the water that it needs, there are no smelt fish.
For the 6th year in a row, no smelt have been found in the San Joaquin Delta. We'll tell you why that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. For 6 years, no smelt have been found, despite all of these efforts. And again, Southern California not getting the water that it needs to save these fish, they've disappeared. Now, yesterday, we told you about these stupid fish, where they have, obviously, there are a lot of issues with the smelt fish. Number one is they have a very short lifespan, like a year. Number two is they're part of the food chain. So you're working hard to protect a fish that is only going to get eaten by bigger fish. It is the damnedest thing. It is like liberal logic, which means it is clearly illogical. And so they've spent all this time and all this money and all of this effort trying to save a fish that they haven't seen in 6 years. I mean, Joan, you spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Does that can you make any sense of the logic here?
No, absolutely not.
There still are. It's stunning that they're still arguing about this. We've got a little bit more on the disappearance of the smelt fish and what is coming up next. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
We have a crash this morning. This is on 24, the westbound lanes. This is in Cheatham County out by Jolton. It's a head-on crash, possibly a wrong-way driver. 2 people have died in this crash this morning. So it's 24 westbound this morning is closed down. New Hope Road to, that's exit 31, up to Highway, Springfield, Ashland City, Highway 49. That's exit 24. Crews are still working on that this morning, and hopefully they'll get that cleared out. Otherwise, the roads are looking pretty good so far this morning. We don't see any real problems this morning as you're traveling on the major roadways here in the Nashville area. But the roadways are very cold. Temperatures have been down below freezing for a couple of days now. So when the snow does begin to fall, we're told that the snow is going to stick, and it'll stick pretty quickly. So careful as you travel out there this morning. Stay home if you can. That's the word from folks in the TDOT this morning. And we'll keep you updated on the road conditions all morning long. Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Do you know what I'm wondering, Joan?
What's that?
I'm just going to tell you, I'm feeling a little loosey-goosey today. Maybe it's because I'm at home in my basement in my sweatpants and in my sweatshirt. But I also know that there's not a lot of people going to be listening today. Because,
yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that are going to be out on the roadways. Folks have been staying home. Is there any? I think I heard somewhere there is not one school in session today in all of Tennessee.
I believe it. I believe it.
That's
It's
what I
already
heard.
so out in Memphis, the ground is already covered. Jackson, ground is covered again. So it's headed our way. Everybody knows it's going to be a day-long event. So they're just calling it early. Keep everybody off the roads.
All right, so we'll pick up this conversation at 5:35. It is now 5:17 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I know that people they're riveted by the smelt news that I've been giving you in California. 6 years, no smelt have been found despite all of those efforts. Southern California not getting the water that it needs, and they've disappeared. So they try. Typical California, they tried to save the smelt, but they're gone. Another failure for the state of California and Gavin Newsom. So Southern California, of course, they still don't have any water, and now they don't have any smelt fish.
This is a really complex issue. Californians are in need of water all over the state. But with a project like the Delta Tunnel, environmentalists say that the 50 species of fish that live in the Delta are at risk, as well as the wildlife and the people who depend on those fish.
Right. It's really not that complicated. You've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people across the state of California that need access to, and this is important, the state's resources. The state's resources. Those folks up north and in Central California, they can't lay claim to this water as it being their water. They can't. That's what they're doing. And I'm passionate about this because I'm from California. I know all about this. This has been going on for years. They have this massive project in California called the Delta Tunnel, which they want to, and they have been building or trying to build, that will actually bring water south. But there's a big fight from not only environmentalists and politicians, but also from people up north and in Central California, too.
For the 6th year in a row, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife have found no Delta smelt, a small endangered fish that's only found in the San Francisco estuary.
My grandpa taught my dad how to fish on the Delta. I learned how to fish on the Delta. And the fact that we haven't seen smelt there in years shows just how much work we have to do to protect the heritage of the Delta that has been so essential for these fish populations going back generations.
You know what they really need to do? What they need to do is run the audio of these folks and these politicians and lay it over images and video of firefighters trying to pump water out of empty hydrants. Images and videos of schools and churches and homes burning, massive swaths of neighborhoods burning as well. Because this is, at least to me, just another example of Democrat priorities gone awry. Fish over people. I mean, that's what this comes down to, right? Fish over people. And they're spending money on a project that isn't being used to its full capacity. And it sounds crazy, but there's all these lawsuits and environmental concerns. So the smeltriversy of California does continue. No smelt and no water for the people of Southern California, and especially for those firefighters. Incredibly sad. Dan Mandis here, 5:20 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, we have another look this morning at what's happening in California and the devastation there. Also, President Trump has something to deal with when it comes to NATO. NATO has just done something ahead of him being installed as the next president in the United States. We'll tell you about that coming up at 5:30 here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
525, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. And it is, we already have a communication failure. It is January 10th. Usually I write my the date on my actual piece of paper.
Did you say a different date?
What is the date today?
Today's the 10th. Did you say something different?
No. I couldn't find it. I'm at home, and all the systems that I have in place are not here at home. So, but it is January 10th. A snowy January 10th. By the way, Jeff and Joan and everybody listening, I very much encourage you to listen at 5:35.
Oh?
I have come up with a major production piece that signifies what today is all about.
Oh, really?
That is coming up at 5, a major production piece courtesy of Nashville's Morning News.
He is very excited.
I've been talking about this for like an hour. First thing I said to Jeff was, "Oh, you've got to hear this." And but Jeff, don't say.
I won't.
Don't talk about it. Don't even tell Joan.
Who? Who's Joan?
She's out of the circle of trust because I know that she's gonna rain on my parade.
Nice meet the Fockers reference. Nice meet the parents reference there with the circle of trust.
You like that?
Yeah.
All right, very good. You know what I like? I like Ron DeSantis. There's audio of him. I'm going to repost this real quick right now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he was doing a press conference. Trump is hosting Republican governors from all across the country at Mar-a-Lago. His press conference yesterday was really good. But a reporter started going after Ron DeSantis because the reporter was questioning Donald Trump's criticism of Gavin Newsom. And DeSantis, he just leaps at this reporter.
It's appropriate for the president-elect or a president to be criticizing.
Is it appropriate for people in your industry to try to create division and to try to create narratives anytime these things happen? Now, you're not as interested in doing that because Newsom is a D. If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. And I know we've dealt with it. We just assume in Florida, anytime something happens, it's going to be politicized by the media. So you guys sitting in judgment of Donald Trump, I mean, excuse me, I think your track record of politicizing these things is very, very bad.
Okay, last question. Newsom should resign and that the wildfires are all his fault. So do you agree with those comments?
I remember when we had the Surfside Tower collapse, I had people from the Washington Post trying to blame me for it immediately without having any facts or anything. Oh, he didn't declare a state of emergency. First of all, state of emergency doesn't mean you can't respond. It's all that. Excuse me?
Biden did it. I think that's what she's saying.
Well, but what I'm telling you is you guys are trying to make an issue of it when I have watched from this seat. In fact, when I got elected governor, I was meeting with some of the other Republican governors, and what they would say is, hey, if you have a natural disaster, just know media's coming at you, they're going to do it. It's not the same. That mayor of L.A., if that were a Republican mayor, I could only imagine what that would do. I mean, you know the fires are at high risk, and you try to go to Africa or wherever she was to go on some type of voyage. You should have been there preparing and doing that, and yet I don't see a lot of heat being directed in that thing. And so, you know, I'd like to see some balance on how this is done. You can criticize the president-elect, but I think you also have to hold these other people accountable, and I have not seen that.
I love that. Ron DeSantis, a minute, 50 seconds, just bashing the media. But really what he's doing is the Florida governor clearly is just speaking fact. It is 5:30 news with Joan Jones now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with the latest stories. And as the flurries begin to fly here in the Nashville area this morning, the Nashville Department of Transportation is expected to begin salting the roadways. And then as that snow begins to stick to the roads, the plows are coming out. Now, NDOT says that crews will work in 12-hour shifts throughout the entire event until everything is clear. Some changes this time around, though. NDOT says they will not take requests for snowplows. Rather, they'll switch from a primary list of roads to be cleared to a post-secondary list as things start to roll down a little bit here. Now, reports can still be made to Hub Nashville, but they'll only be used for data gathering and evaluation for future weather events. Well, the Los Angeles fire officials are now reporting 10 deaths and the destruction of 10,000 structures. Also, the fires there continue to burn uncontained. And to make matters worse, CNN is reporting a Canadian Super Scooper aircraft. That's one of those ones that's helping now in the effort to fight the Palisades fire. It's been grounded because it hit a drone that was flying in restricted airspace over the blaze. Those planes can scoop up more than 1,500 gallons of ocean water and then drop them on active fires. That Super Scooper suffered wing damage, but there was no injuries, thankfully. The collision caused the temporary grounding of all aircraft responding to the Palisades fire. NATO has taken control of air defenses in Poland from the U.S. just days before the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. CNN is reporting that move is part of a broader effort that has been in the works for months to shift the burden of helping Ukraine from the U.S. to European countries amid questions over whether U.S. support would continue under the Trump administration. Trump has said he wants to end that war. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, it looks like things are a mess this morning on I-24. This is in Cheatham County. The westbound lanes there are closed between New Hope Road and Springfield Ashland City. That's exits 31 through 24. Now, it's closed because there was a head-on crash. 2 people have died in that crash this morning, and police are telling us that was a head-on crash caused by a wrong-way driver. So again, 24 westbound, closed for the next several hours, by the way, between New Hope Road and Springfield Ashland City, and we'll keep you updated as that investigation goes on. So far, the major roadways are looking good heading into Nashville this morning, and by the way, still no snow in most of the Nashville listening area. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, along with KGB, Jeff Malinoff. Joan Jones is here as well. Well, here meaning in Manchester. Joan is in Manchester. I'm at home in Mount Juliet, and KGB drew the short straw, and he had to go into work today and actually bring everybody up on the audio console.
He's our hero.
He is our hero.
It's not really taking the small straw. It was the, here's the straw, take it, go to work.
Listen, KGB, you could be in Moscow right now. So, it's
wow.
either here or hanging out with Vladimir Putin.
Done both. I don't know which one's worse.
By the way, man, you suck. So 4702 says, don't worry, Dan. Myself and the other garbage men are out here working as always. Do the garbage folks have to work today? I guess they do.
Wow, that would be odd, but I guess
that would be
terrible. It has to
yes,
go on.
It would be.
Yeah. There's also a guy, 5497, who said he's coming up from Lawrence County and into Murray County, and he said the roads are already covered with snow. So it is coming. We're just not really seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, there's a lot of things going on out here in the world today, but here in Tennessee, in Nashville, it's all about
snow. Let it snow.
So this was
that was the big production bit.
That was the big production
piece. Did you see
piece?
what I did there?
I did. You want to play it again just so we can?
School's out for snow, and then the kids go, yay.
Snow. Let it snow.
I mean, listen, I think
you've been excited since 2 a.m. to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the reaction I'm getting from Joan is more like that.
Yeah.
You didn't like my big production piece?
Well, it's really good, Dan. It's really good.
Dan's trying to make this remember those old 2000s or late 90s radio shows where it's like Henry and the Wombat, and Wombat's playing all the kooky noises on his little mixer.
Yes. That's what I'm doing. It's just
snow. Let it snow.
and then you jingle out Mandis in the morning, and then you hit the bit. You hit the next,
Yeah, you just play a random audio.
99.7. Yeah.
WTN.
Yeah.
All right, that's how I'm feeling right now. Whatever. All right.
How long did you work on that?
He was so proud of himself too. You have no idea.
How long did you work on it? Take you all of.
In fairness to me, it only took me an hour.
See, it took you that long?
No, I'm kidding. It did. It took me like 8 minutes.
Okay.
Actually,
I'm okay. That sounds so much better than an hour.
Right.
My wife actually was up when I was working on it, and I played it for her, and she literally said, "I'm going back to bed."
But in the most disappointing tone, right?
Okay. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Listen, she's married to me though. She's used to disappointment.
So why was your wife up at that time in the morning? Listening to your audio.
Okay. So this is what's going on in my house. I get up at my usual time because I want to be prepared. I know you can't always tell, but I got up at about midnight, 12:15, 12:30.
Yeah.
Riker is on his Oculus.
What?
Yeah. So
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, knocking on the door, and dude, what are you doing? And he understands that, of course, it is a special day in Tennessee.
Snow, let it snow.
And so he's among those kids that are really excited that they don't have to go to school today. So he's up till 12:15, 12:20. So I told him to go to bed. I go downstairs to work. Now, of course, he knows me. He knows that once I leave the upstairs, because that's where my room is, I'm down here in the basement and I don't go back upstairs. Amy gets up at 3:30 and she is like, what the hell is he doing up? He is up at 3:30 doing his Oculus.
Okay,
Oh
I'm
my
going to defend
goodness.
him. I'm going to defend him because as a kid, I played on my Xbox late. When I had no school the next day, I was up playing zombies with my buddies late into the night. It's just something. Yeah.
He's
So
very
Dan,
excited.
is his Oculus available to him in his bedroom?
Oh, God, here we go. Parent
Yeah.
shaming
Joan.
from Joan.
Come
Parent
on.
shaming from Joan.
Let's go.
Just
Let's
so
go.
we're clear, I'm
Uh-huh.
only the step.
Right.
So I actually have no say in the house whatsoever, Stan.
Oh no, you definitely do. You definitely do.
You know what? When it's a school night, he doesn't have access to that stuff. As a matter of fact, she is very strict on bedtime on a school night. But since, like KGB said, when it's a special occasion, when it's a weekend, he gets to do those kinds of things. But man, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, it was. So she got up and she told him to go to bed, and he did. And but Amy actually thought that it was snowing, but it wasn't snowing. They put salt on our street, and so she thought the salt was snow. And so then I actually had a moment where I was actually the smart one in the relationship, because she says, well, look outside. The street is all wet. The street is white. I said, yeah, honey, but there's no snow on our grass. So how would it be that there's no snow on the grass, but there's snow only in the street?
They actually put salt on our roads in the parking lot in here. But it's in a giant pile, and I swear it looks like broken glass. Because it's bluish and it has little chunks in it, so it's like, did someone break into a car in here? But then I looked, I'm like, oh, there's multiple spots. They're putting snow out there.
Actually, it's kind of funny because having our cars broken into at the station is far more likely than them actually putting salt on a parking lot.
Well, it's just a little pile. It's just one big pile. So I don't know. Maybe someone thought, I'm just going to do this for the station, and just did it. So I don't know.
Just stuck a pile?
Yeah, just
right
like
there
one
in the
big
middle
pile.
of okay.
Yeah. I will send you a picture when we get out of here.
Okay.
I will prove myself that I'm not crazy.
Hey, did you guys hear what Ron DeSantis said about Gavin Newsom?
Newsom is a D.
Did you hear that?
A D?
A D.
Newsom is a D.
Yeah, and that audio that I played, where DeSantis is going after that reporter for talking about the division because of the fires. You had Ron DeSantis.
Newsom is a D.
Say that he was a D.
But he means Democrat, right?
One would only assume.
Sure, Joan. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Well,
I just thought I'd go ahead and take that out of context.
Did you also happen to see the whole David Muir thing? on ABC
Oh
News.
my God. So I tried explaining this to Amy because I thought it was funny. And she didn't quite get it. But basically, David Muir, who, I mean, guy's another D. And he's got some sort of what would you call that thing, Joan?
So you know how all of the ABC, now we know this because we have to watch ABC, but ABC reporters are all wearing yellow jackets with the emblem, the ABC emblem on one breast pocket. And he was reporting and he sort of turned a little bit to point to something. And in the process, he showed that what he had actually done was, and women do this all the time when you're trying on something that's maybe too big for you. He had clips, looks like maybe clothespin clips or something like that, all down the back to make his jacket just a little bit tighter so it was form-fitting for him.
Yeah, so that the people could see his pecs.
What? You really can't see his pecs through that.
That's the funny thing.
Really?
Is that, well, I wasn't
Were you looking at
but
his,
no,
you were
I was
looking
not
for
looking
pecs?
at David Muir's pecs.
Okay, I'm just checking.
No, and you know what? When I think about David Muir's pecs, that's what happened. So anyway, he scrunched it up so that it would be tighter in the front, and so people are laughing at the vanity of David Muir as he is reporting from the fire lines, and people are just blasting him. He's kind of a known prima donna, matter of fact, and so. It kind of matches his personality.
He's got that little quirk that when he's reporting and he's trying to appear to be very serious, he puts one arm on the table and sort of leans in as if he's, it makes him appear to be very serious. It's so contrived. And so is this. So is this effort to make him have a fitted jacket while he's out there reporting on people dying in a blaze.
He is so contrived.
Yes.
Absolutely contrived. So in my house, by the way, and I'm sure that all the other parents are dealing with this too, where the kids, they're all very excited. Yeah. By 9, that's not going to be nearly as funny as it is now. But
really, it could be worse.
All the kids, I could make it a lot worse.
Whoa, Joan coming with all guns a-blazing on you.
Yeah.
So sledding and snowboarding and snowball fights. So we're hoping to do all of the above. But you know what Amy is dying to do today?
Go sledding?
No. KGB, you got to guess? What is Amy dying to do?
Well, is it a snow activity or is it something else?
Just give me a guess.
Walking in the snow. Snowball fights.
No. She wants to go in the hot tub.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense.
She is dying to go into the hot tub and drink mimosas. Or maybe
while it's snowing on
her. While it's snowing.
Oh,
I
wish I was up there to join her.
Since we got that hot tub, she has been talking about getting in the hot tub during a snowstorm. And we've had this thing for, I don't know, what, 5 months, whatever it's been. And she is dying to do this. So
that's great.
Is it, Joan?
It is. So, okay, let me tell you a story. My husband and I went skiing in Vermont. This was maybe 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Stayed at this hotel right at the base of the mountain that we were at. And when we got there, it was like 4 p.m, and all of these people were in the lobby with their robes on, white robes on, and they were headed out to the pool. So I went and I looked out the window, and everybody is in the pool. It's a heated pool. You can see the steam rising from the pool, and everybody's out there in their bathing suits in the pool, drinking mimosas, drinking a beer, whatever. So they come down the mountain, run in, put on their robe, their bathing suit, and go jump in the pool while it's snowing. Yep. And they just had a blast.
Okay,
so I think
maybe I'm the weird one.
Well, maybe you just need to get your little shorts on too and get out there in the pool with a mimosa.
My little shorts on.
Yes.
You know what just happened to folks is
Yeah, I didn't want to think about that at 5:50 in the morning.
the visual
Joan.
of Mandis
Yeah.
in his little tiny shorts.
Yeah.
Although Tom says that his wife actually giggled at my little snow.
Snow, let it snow.
She's sleep deprived. That's why.
That's what I was just going to
sleep-deprived?
say.
Is
She's
that
just
what it
sleep.
is?
You know when you're so tired, everything's funny. That's what his wife.
That's
is.
what's happening with you, right, KGB?
I'm just disoriented because I've literally had to be under the desk connecting cables for the last like 20 minutes, just trying to test to see if my camera works and trying to see other cameras. I don't know what happened in the last 24 hours, but everything is just not going my way right now.
Yeah, there's all the cameras weren't working, and we had to reboot stuff. And I, of course, am screaming down the line saying, "Hey Jeff, listen to this bit."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, I'm trying to reconnect the cameras and keep the radio station on the air." So there you go. It is 5:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The fun and frivolity does continue. Joan Jones has the news at 6. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, we're all settled in, and the snow is finally arriving here. It'll be a day-long event for us here in Middle Tennessee. We'll get you updated. Also, we'll tell you who's coming to the rescue of emergency workers who absolutely, positively have to be at work today. Those stories at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis from Nashville's Morning News. The Wall Street Journal reported a while ago that people are feeling stress, anxiety, and depression because of this election. If that's you, talk to my guy, Dr. Christopher Van Schenk. He is a psychiatrist out in Nolensville. Now, he can help you with not only depression, if you're feeling it because of politics or whatever, but he can also help you with alcoholism, drug abuse as well. Go to his website, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. He's got a long list of conditions that he can help you with, either in person or at telehealth. Bottom line is, he wants to make it as easy as possible for you to get the help that you need. He can help your kids as well. Check him out online. Again, nolensvillepsychiatry.com. The number's below. Thanks for listening, and good luck. 5:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, coming up after the news at 6, we do have, of course, fire in the news out in California. That is still going on. Donald Trump had what I would say was an epic press conference yesterday as well. And I do believe that Donald Trump is making an attempt to appear more presidential. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more after the news at 6. Right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yesterday, Joan, was the day that the country said goodbye to Jimmy Carter, his funeral. We had all those former presidents, including Donald Trump and Barack Obama. Now, you watched this, correct?
Yes, I did.
So people were really interested in all the dynamics between all of the different presidents and vice presidents, Kamala Harris. So Trump shows up and he shakes the hand of Mike Pence. So that was number one, because everybody wanted to see what the dynamic would be between those two.
Yeah.
And it was fine. No problem whatsoever. There's some video on the internet that may indicate that Mrs. Pence refused to shake the hand of Donald Trump. So that's number one. Number two, and I think the bigger one, is Trump and Obama were kind of having a conversation, and clearly it was a warm conversation, and the liberals are ticked because Barack Obama dares speak to Donald Trump.
Yeah. In fact, so the New York Post hired a lip reader, I guess.
Yes.
And the lip reader said that they were talking about having a private conversation about a matter of importance.
They had to get away from the cameras.
Yeah.
And then you had, and I don't know, Trump was talking about pulling out of something. Then you had, as Obama and Trump were, especially Obama, was like smiling and kind of yucking it up a little bit. Kamala Harris looks over her shoulder behind them, and she looks really angry because it seems to me like it's clear that Harris doesn't like the fact that Obama is yucking it up with the guy that beat her. So that's also part of the really fascinating dynamic. Michelle Obama was not with Barack Obama. Some people are saying that Michelle and Barack are on the outs. I don't know about that. I highly doubt it, whatever. But really interesting, all of the different dynamics at play. Here's what I think. I think that Barack Obama likes to be part of the cool kids club. He's always been cool. And right now, Donald Trump, like it or not, hate listeners, deal with it, Donald Trump is the cool kid in the class. Donald Trump is the cool kid in the school. So Obama is trying to kind of make himself, insert himself as part of the cool kids club by sucking up to Donald Trump. Agree or disagree?
Totally agree.
There you go. Totally
and
agree.
he was seen. So there's so much more to that. Where was Michelle Obama? She wasn't there.
That's what I said.
Oh, yeah. There's
People
so
are
much
saying
to
they're
this.
on the way out. All right, well, we got to go. It is 6 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Joan Jones, and the news is coming up next.
Six o'clock, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Want to let you know, first off, the 24 westbound in Cheatham County closed down because of a head-on collision possibly caused by a wrong-way driver this morning. It is closed, exit 31 to 24, and may be that way all morning. Well, we are still expecting 46 inches of snow, but Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro telling us there'll be some mixing in the most southern parts of the area as well. That'll be sleet mixing in. Most of the mixing will be south of I-40, but for most of us, he says this will just be a snow event, and there could be some heavier snowfall in the middle of the day. Essential workers who absolutely must be at work today have the option of calling on the Jeep crew. Dozens of Jeep owners in Rutherford County and Sumner County have organized to give rides to medical and emergency personnel on snow days out of a love for being helpful and driving their Jeeps in the snow. You can find them on Facebook. Just search for the Jeep crew in your county. Other news, a plea deal involving the man accused of plotting the 9/11 terror attacks has been placed on hold by a federal court. The stay ordered by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals puts a halt to a hearing scheduled for today where alleged 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was to have pleaded guilty in return for the death penalty being removed from his case. Now, this stay was being ordered so that the court can have more time to determine whether Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin does have the authority to reverse the plea agreements that were offered to Mohammed and two other 9/11 plotters. The two military courts had ruled that Austin did not have authority and that the plea agreements could proceed. President-elect Donald Trump appearing virtually from his Mar-a-Lago estate this morning for sentencing in his criminal hush money case in a New York court. It comes after the Supreme Court refused to delay Mr. Trump's sentencing yesterday. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett siding with the court's liberal justices to reject Trump's emergency request for a delay. The Supreme Court's message to the once and future president was essentially the hearing will do very little to interfere with his preparation to return to power, given the fact that there's virtually nothing at stake because the judge intends to give him no jail time. And Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman says he will accept President Trump's invitation for a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. In a statement, the Democratic senator says, quote, "No one is my gatekeeper." John Fetterman said that he'll have conversations with anyone if it helps him deliver for Pennsylvania. Now, in addition to accepting the invitation to Mar-a-Lago, Fetterman also recently met with Pete Hegseth, Trump's nominee to be defense secretary. Fetterman breaking from the progressive wing of his party last year, too, when he became an outspoken supporter of Israel's war on Hamas. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Like what Joan said before, we still have that crash closed for investigation. It's going to be about 3 to 5 hours expected. That's I-24 westbound between New Hope Road, exit 31, and Springfield, Nashville City, exit 24. That's in Cheatham County. Looking at around the downtown Nashville area, snow's expected to start around 8 o'clock, so that's when the snow's going to get heavy. So be very careful you get on the road early in the morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Welcome on into your Friday, January 10th. And yes, indeed, it is a snow day. I think every single school across Tennessee is closed. We have a lot of snow coming. People checking in on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986, telling us where along the Middle Tennessee area the snow is beginning to fall. Dixon, they say that the snow is beginning to fall there. So we'll continue to watch the snow. We'll continue to watch the weather and the roads for you as well. The fires do continue to burn in California. I'll have a full update for you on that at about 6:35 right here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There's lots of political news going on. President-elect Donald Trump was meeting with governors yesterday, and during the press conference, he was actually asked a really good question by Peter Doocy.
A lot of CEOs, including some who censored you 4 years ago, have been coming down here basically to kiss the ring. Did they change or did you change?
You know, what a really great question. I believe that the turnaround of these CEOs talking about, Mark Zuckerberg and some of these folks is similar to the turnaround of America on Donald Trump. Not on a lot of us who I'm talking and you're listening, because a lot of us have been with Donald Trump, if not day one, then shortly thereafter. But a lot of folks across America, including people like Jeff Zuckerberg, have been red-pilled. Far as the CEOs go, specifically talking about Mark Zuckerberg, he literally banned, you remember this, he banned Donald Trump from Facebook and Instagram. He donated heavily to Democrats. Facebook censored Republicans. I mean, it was bad. And we talked about this stuff every single day on WTN. But now you have Facebook, actually, we spoke about this earlier this week, you have Facebook announcing that no longer will they be using those dreaded fact checkers. No. And the censorship is supposedly gone. And so now Mark Zuckerberg actually going to Mar-a-Lago and donating $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration. And so this is what the president-elect had to say about all that.
Well, maybe we all changed. I think they've gained a lot of respect. I think they looked at the mandate that we got. As you know, we won the popular vote. As I said, we won all 7 swing states, and we won them by a lot. We didn't win them by a little. We won them by a lot, and we won the popular vote by a lot. I think that had an effect. I also think it's like, let's get something done.
Right. I mean, I've actually wondered if a guy like Zuckerberg actually feels guilty for having such a huge hand in putting Joe Biden and the Democrats in office. Dude donated $419 million. $419 million to all of those nonprofits that, of course, ended up going to Democrats. Zuckerbucks, they called them. Zuckerbucks, they called them. And they went to a lot of Democrats in local elections. And, of course, federally as well, congressional races and so forth. So he did have a hand in all of the ills that we are dealing with today. Illegal immigration. We could talk about, obviously, all of the censorship, the inflation, all of these things, courtesy of the Democrats and the people that put them there. And that $419 million that Zuckerberg donated, it helped put the Democrats in charge, obviously. And the Democrats are the reason why we are in the position that we're now in. And so when Donald Trump says, and I thought it was really interesting what he said.
Well, maybe we all changed. I think they've gained a lot of respect. I think they looked at the mandate that we got. As you know, we won the popular vote. As I said, we won all 7 swing states.
Yeah, he's right. He won all 7 swing states. It is a mandate, clearly. And so part of me, of course, wonders, because I'm very cynical about all of this. Do you think that if Donald Trump did not win not only, obviously, the popular vote, but also the Electoral College, he won both, and by wide margins, do you think somebody like Jeff Zuckerberg would have finally seen the light and, maybe we should stop censoring Republicans? Do you think that the Democrats, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, would have come to their senses and stopped censoring Republicans and all of these other, things that they're doing to cozy up to Donald Trump, donating to his inauguration and all of that? Or do they realize that they are on the wrong side of history? Because they certainly were. And so for me, I think that I'm appreciative that people like Mark Zuckerberg and others realize that they are way outgunned by Donald Trump. I mean, absolutely outgunned. Donald Trump, as I said in the 5 o'clock hour, he's like the cool kid in school right now. Things are going his way. And even Barack Obama was cozying up to him yesterday at Jimmy Carter's funeral. So for Mark Zuckerberg and others to go to Mar-a-Lago, I mean, you could say that it's stunning, but on the other hand, you could say that it's to be expected.
You look at what happened with Facebook today and yesterday, what they announced. That was a big concession from them. I mean, a statement yesterday that's really talking about free speech. What a difference that is. And so we appreciate that. But I think they've gained a lot of respect. We've had everybody. Jeff Bezos came, Bill Gates came, Mark Zuckerberg came. Many of them came numerous times. The bankers have all come. Everybody's coming. I haven't had anybody saying anything bad about me. I'm not used to it. But
I mean, he's right. But I think it's worth noting, too. Have you noticed this? Trump seems to be acting more presidential. I think that he is. And that's not to say that he wasn't acting presidential before, but let's be honest. Donald Trump, especially way back when, he said a lot of things and he did a lot of things that triggered a lot of people, whether that was right, wrong, whatever. But the reality is, and I can hear it in his voice, that something flipped in the mind of Donald Trump. And maybe it's because he's got scoreboard now. He had a great first 4 years. And he kicked the living crap out of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And so now he is being a gracious winner. There is something to be said for that. Now, he's going to go after political targets as he should, like, for example, Gavin Newsom. But I think it's really interesting, the turnaround of Jeff Zuckerberg, because I think that his turnaround is sort of emblematic of people across America who hated Donald Trump and went from hating Donald Trump to, okay, maybe he's not so bad, to respecting him and actually admitting that his policies were good for America and his promises in his second term will be good for America. Details straight ahead. 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. .615 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Weather today, high of 33 and low of 25. Right now, it's 28 degrees. Snow is supposed to be starting right around, 8 o'clock in Nashville. But you know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Folks, we got 100,000 watts of FM radio here, so it's hard to tell where it's snowing at any given time. But most certainly, if you can hear my voice on the radio and you're in Tennessee, you will get snow at some point. And appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I remember in school one time, a kid was getting picked on, bullied, beaten up, actually. And one day it got so bad. And suddenly it was really interesting. And I'll always remember this. One of the bullies turned and realized that he had gone too far, realized that he was the problem and not the kid being bullied. So the bully actually apologized to the bullied, and they became friends. And I'm wondering if perhaps the same applies here, where you had all of these people in the media, Zuckerberg, some of the Democrats as well, obviously, where they've suddenly become aware and they've realized that they were the problem. And that oftentimes when Donald Trump did or said some of the things that he did, that he was responding to them bullying him. And trust me when I say, I understand that Donald Trump certainly had his moments as well. But for Jeff Zuckerberg to go to Mar-a-Lago and, as Peter Doocy said, whatever, kiss the ring, whatever it is. One of the things I think that really helped turn him around was that assassination attempt.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But, and I think, look, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that that's why a lot of people like the guy.
There's a lot of reasons why people like the guy. That was pretty amazing. So now you have Trump, of course, in what has to be one of the craziest political periods in history with 2 assassination attempts, all that lawfare, which, by the way, continues to this day, no thanks to the Supreme Court. Of course, Donald Trump being charged with all these crimes. And again, the lawfare, the raid of Mar-a-Lago. Then, of course, the campaign that he had against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Donald Trump won, and he won big time. So I think that there's a lot of people that have had this journey like Mark Zuckerberg, where they've hated him, they accepted him, they respect him, they like him, and now they're donating to his inauguration. And part of this, of course, is Donald Trump's resilience and his policies and his track record, especially compared to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and what they stand for.
A lot of it's respect. I think they respect the Republican Party. The Republican Party has become a much bigger party. It's become a party for the worker. If you look at all of the union votes that I got, and when I say I, it's really all of us together because it's a whole thing. We won the Teamsters. We did great with the auto workers. We did, all heavily union. And non-union states, we won by a lot. Florida is an example. We won by millions of votes, the highest vote ever gotten. It's been a great period of time.
All right, so that Donald Trump, he did do better with every single demographic, every single voting bloc. Joe Biden had an 8-point lead in 2020. Trump talking about the unions. Joe Biden had an 8-point lead in 2020 with those unions. An 8-point lead. But in 2024, Donald Trump and Joe Biden actually tied among union members in swing states. Now, I don't want to constantly relitigate and regurgitate Trump's win, but he is right. He made big-time inroads with unions. But not only with unions, as you just heard, but with, as I just said, all demographics all across the country. But in answer to Peter Doocy's question,
a lot of it's respect. I think they respect the Republican Party.
And there is a lot of respect for the Republican Party. I mean, clearly there is. And the reason why there's a lot of respect is because of the abilities of Donald Trump and the abilities of the Republican Party and all of the things that we have done as a party to try to get America back on the right track. So it is interesting, and I do like what Peter Doocy has to say.
A lot of CEOs, including some who censored you 4 years ago, have been coming down here basically to kiss the ring. Did they change or did you change?
I kind of want to know from you. Do you think, and the super text line is open, 615-737-9986, do you think Donald Trump has changed? Or do you think the media and the Trump critics like Mark Zuckerberg, do you think they have changed? I do believe that Donald Trump is making a concerted effort to be more presidential. Or maybe it just comes from being the big dog and having an outstanding track record and knowing the state of the country right now. He wants to do everything that he possibly can to get us back on track. But I want to know what you think. The phone number, 615-737-9986. Dan Mandis here with a question for you, friends. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. Now, that means that the insurance company is going to depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. An older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they will pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. 615-329-8121. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review at tkinginsurance.com. Now, coming up right before the news with Joan Jones. Do you see that, speaking of which, John Fetterman is heading to Mar-a-Lago, and they asked him about that, and he had an hysterical answer. That audio is coming up, and Joan Jones is also coming up with the news at 6:30. Joan, what you got?
Well, we have a serious crash in Cheatham County this morning that has a portion of I-24 closed down. Also, we've got a sad update to the wildfire story in California. Those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.